Hello, welcome to this new video. We'll be talking today about the nursery gateway or how to make it successful in your operation. My name is Manuel. I'm technical service manager for in the aquaculture, specialized in shrimp grow-out. So we have seen earlier that there is different kind of nursery of applications today. We have been classifying those in 3 different kind of models that we have been explaining earlier, but we will see that either if the goal is biosecurity, batch management, or just to make sure that the animals don't carry any disease before starting at a grow-out, there's an evident relations between the density of those operations and the duration of the nursery. Yes, because even if we know that nursery will bring many different advantages to the farmer, it really needs to be done properly. We need to work on risk management. It's not only valid for the nursery, but risk management is very important to have biosecure operations to increase the rates of success of the farm. We need to balance productivity with biosecurity. So, as a matter of fact, higher the density, higher will be the feed going to this pond, so higher will be the oxygen demand. We have been running nursery for many years now, and we have consistently observed that when we go over 150 grams per cubic meter of water of feed input per day, or when the shrimp biomass is going over 3 kg per cubic meter, we are going into some very high organic and bacterial loads in the systems. But so it's complicated, difficult sometimes to maintain the dissolved oxygens above 3.5 milligram. This creates very weak conditions and increase the risk of failure, water quality issues, stress, the systems becoming weak. In this configuration, the solution would be to exchange water and to renew some of this environment. Now, when we are doing this, on one side the cost is increasing, but we are also increasing our risk of introducing pathogen to the environment of the pond. So we need to look at those parameters of 150 grams and 3 kg of shrimp per cubic meter of water to try to realize that when we go over this, we are taking more risk. Look at the risk management. So when we are looking at our protocols and what is our schedules to run a nursery, we should look at our stocking numbers, how they will grow, how they will survive, to put this together with our feeding expectations. And when we're going to reach those limits here, that's where we basically should transfer the animals to the new pond. So when we talk about the pond environment, we talk about balance between many different elements. The main elements we talked about are the water, obviously, the animals themselves, and the feed we're going to give them to grow. We will have also all the microorganisms that will grow in this environment, like zooplankton, phytoplankton, probiotic and VIBRIO as main bacterial communities. And then we'll have all the organic waste, feces, feed waste, shrimp molds, etc. So we will need to work on every single element all together to make a stable system that will make shrimp growing nicely. Every single element is also supported by a range of products that have specialty being developed for this purpose. So one important thing to do when you receive the post-larvae at the farm is to check their quality. We are actually looking at 4 critical control points when it comes to the quality of the PL. The first one would be the number of animals. You need to count them just to know, because the hatchery will always supply more animals than what you ask for to compensate for possible mortalities. Then we are looking at weighting those animals to see that they are big enough to handle the pond conditions. If the animals are too small, you can expect a small delay in the growth, for instance. The size variation of the populations, that's quite important because sometimes you will see high size variation during the grow out. So you need to know basically if this variation comes from your pond management or if it's coming from the hatchery. The last point that we recommend is to do a stress test. So passing the animals half an hour in fresh water, back in salt water for half an hour. This will give you an idea of the robustness of the animals. Also, it can help to see what will be their survival when you put them in a pond. So if you have, for instance, a very low survival during the stress test, you can expect more loss for the first week after stocking. If you do these 4 different points, it's going to give you very good information based on what can you expect from this crop. You can compare this with the result you got before versus the quality you got here. It's also going to give you indications if the problems come from the farm or if it's coming from the PL. That's quite important. The second most important element is the feed. Okay, it has a huge impact on the environment. It also a huge impact on the cost of the operations. So in this context and with this high density, we are looking at feeding less than what we would usually do, but in better quality. We are also using health booster because this high density is inducing a stress on the animals, so we need to boost the immune system. Otherwise, we would recommend crumble feed between 0.5 0.8 mil over 35% proteins, and also establish the feed in about 6 different events during the day, with a higher rate by night to cover for all those long hours. We also need to look at the impact of the temperatures in the feeding. Okay, if the temperature is too low, the animals will not feed properly, so we need to feed less. In this sense, we have seen that if your temperatures grows in this aspect lower than 25 degrees by morning, we should increase the rates of the feed during the day when the temperatures get warmer and drop it for the night. The main constraints that we will face in a pond environment are linked to the VIBRIO populations and the accumulation of organic solids, which usually represent a niche pathogen. The organisms at stake here are called heterotrophic organisms, which means they need carbon to live and multiply. This is true for the probiotic bacteria and VIBRIO. The approach here is to use probiotic in high concentration to suppress the development of the VIBRIO. On the other side, other constraints are linked to the buildup of nitrogen, like ammonia and nitrite, and also possible crash of the phytoplankton. The organisms at stake here are autotrophic organisms. In contrast to the heterotrophic, they don't need carbon to live. The phytoplankton is using light, nitrifiers is using nitrogen. So in this trench, we are using shading or indoor facilities to limit the development of the phytoplankton, which is competing with the nitrifiers for the digestion of the nitrogen. So these actions altogether are part of the microbial balance management. VIBRIO is a huge concern, especially in high density farming. So I just wanted to explain that this is the combinations of probiotic used directly in the feed, in coating, that is used to treat the gut of the animals and to colonize the gut by beneficial bacteria, to see that actually some of these bacteria will reach the environment, or directly by leaching or through the feces. They're going to start colonizing organic solids. That's where we're going to be applying a water conditioner, so probiotic for water at high concentrations, to enforce these colonizations of these solids that will be ingested back by the animals through their natural feeding habits. So these combinations of actions makes that VIBRIO will be suppressed as a whole. We cannot finish this video on nursery without talking about the most important critical control point of the operation. And this is linked to the transfer of the juveniles to the grow-out pond. This really needs to be done correctly. Otherwise, the benefit of the nursery will be seriously diminished by mortality during this manipulation. So on one side, you have the nursery pond, when you're going to have people catching animals, then the dewatering and the weight of these animals to evaluate the number of animals that are actually transferred, and then person doing the rotations between the nursery and the grow-out to do the release. In this manipulation, we usually observe limitations linked to the drainage capability of the nursery, which means the nursery tank or pond needs to have sufficient drainage to drain in reasonable times, and also to have a slope good enough so it dewater 100%. The other limitation we are looking at with the transfer, with the rotations from the nursery to the farm, because this is really dependent on the distance and the states of the road. So the supervisor that will be controlling this transfer really need to act like a cook in the kitchens to have this operation flowing correctly from one hand to the other one. We could say that for this transfer, timing is everything. I hope this presentation was interesting to you, and don't hesitate to go on our website www.inveaquacultures.com to find more information. Thank you.